In the workshop today we have a friend's Weihrauch HW75 competition air pistol that needs a repair. It's not holding air pressure anymore and has been sat unused for a long time while he used a different model instead. This video describes how to maintain the pneumatic cylinder and valve block on the HW75. It doesn't describe servicing of the trigger lock mechanism or the sights, although basic adjustment of these are discussed briefly later in the video. The 75 is a precision-made instrument, and while the work described is straightforward, it should only be undertaken by somebody with the correct tools, spare parts and a degree of mechanical dexterity. The 75 is a relatively rare model, as it was considerably more expensive to buy than the spring-operated version, the HW45, which is also more powerful. The 75 is built for accurate paper target shooting, normally at either 6 or 10 meters range, where excessive power is not needed or wanted. If you have found this video, I expect it's because your HW75 is losing or has completely lost air pressure when cocked. The over-lever cocking should be quite stiff to compress without any hissing of air or lack of resistance. This one is about 30 years old and in lovely condition, except that it had lost all its pressure holding abilities. So I hope this video helps you if you have the same problem. If it does, please like and subscribe and add your comments below. It costs nothing and really helps me to provide more content in the future. The O-rings and seals deteriorate due to either age or contamination by using the wrong oil. Only good quality air gun oil should be used that is suitable for use in compression chambers, and that is non-dieseling. So keep that can of 3-in-1 oil out of the way in the garage. New seals and certain parts can be obtained through online air gun shops by mail order, although you may find them rather expensive considering how small the parts are. Weihrauch don't sell direct, only through registered firearm dealers. This means few shops will stock parts on the shelves, as they are rarely sold. They will order them for you, of course, but they have to cover their costs, which means that the end price is rather high. The tools required will be a 2mm and a 5mm Allen key and a suitable screwdriver. Please use a well-fitting quality screwdriver to prevent damaging the screw heads. None will be or should be particularly tight. Now you may need a drift to press out the pins. If so, use one made of hardwood or copper, certainly not harder than brass, and use great care to avoid scratching the blued surface. Ensure the barrel is clear and open the over-lever cocking mechanism fully as far as it will go. Using the 2mm Allen key, slacken the grub screw as shown. Don't remove it completely, but back it off just enough for the front pivot pin to be pushed out. Once it is out, push out the rear pivot pin. This one doesn't have a locking screw, but relies on a friction fit. You now have the cylinder and block separated from the rest, and I suggest you carry out the rest of the work on a clean, non-slip surface where small components will not get lost. Very near the valve block, on the underside of the cylinder, there is a small screw. Remove this and place it somewhere safe. Very carefully twist and pull the valve block off the cylinder. This will be likely very tight, but do not be tempted to use a vice or grips of any kind, as the cylinder is thin-walled and any dents or damage will instantly and permanently destroy it. Once the valve block is separated from the cylinder, they can be tackled as two individual assemblies. Push the piston out. You will notice it has a large O-ring and an oiled felt ring. The O-ring provides the air seal, and the felt ring gives support, prevents the metal part of the piston from contacting the cylinder wall, and also lightly lubricates the cylinder on every stroke. We will be using a new O-ring and felt seal, so discard the old ones and thoroughly degrease and clean the piston and cylinder. Carefully inspect the inside of the cylinder. It should be smooth and free of any scratches or dents, etc. Lubricate a new O-ring and carefully fit it in the correct groove. Apply oil to the new felt seal, ensuring it is fully but not excessively oiled, and wrap it into the groove. It is shaped so that it will fit correctly without any trimming. Replace the piston assembly into the cylinder, being careful to ensure both the felt and O-rings are not pinched. Push the piston in far enough so that the pivot end can be easily gripped by hand for later on. Wipe off any excess oil and place aside for assembly later. Remove the two 5mm Allen headed screws and carefully part the rear block from the front. The main valve, complete with seal and spring, will now be free, so make sure they don't fly out. The main seal is likely the cause of all your problems. It has to seal against full pressure, then let all the air past it on firing. It lives a life of being constantly squashed and then being exposed to violent airflow, and no wonder it suffers. The small spring is also likely to have lost some compression over time. It should measure about 6mm long in free space. Again, replace if there is any doubt. There is also a screw in the rear block that has a small O-ring. This screw blocks the passage that is bored during manufacture and should be removed in order to clean out all the air passages. Carefully prise the barrel sealing O-ring out of the face of the front block. It will also likely be misshaped and hard. All parts should be thoroughly degreased, cleaned and dried. An airline is ideal for blowing through the small airways. Assembly is the reverse process, ensuring the main valve seal is fitted the correct way, with the cone face against the cone of the rear block and the front flat face against the steel valve. A very small amount of lubricant can be used on the valve rod where it enters the rear block, but don't overdo it. It is a bit awkward to reassemble the two parts, as the spring pressure will tend to prevent the seal from being in the correct place. Just take care and make sure it is not squashed. The two 5mm Allen screws only need to be tightened firmly, don't use a lot of force. Lubricate and fit a new large O-ring seal for the cylinder and make them together, ensuring the holes line up so that the screw can be refitted. Fitting the whole assembly back into the frame is a reverse of taking it apart, not forgetting to nip up the front rod grub screw. You should notice a great improvement in air pressure. I suggest putting a dozen or so pellets through it to make sure all is well and to settle the action in. The HW75 doesn't need much maintenance. A wipe over all metal parts after each session with a silicone oil impregnated cloth, and it will protect it from moisture. I have a reminder in the box on how to adjust the sights and trigger pressure, which you may also like to be aware of. Thanks for watching, enjoy your HW75 safely, and bye for now.